Oh, hello there. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing good. So as per usual, let's talk a bit. So yesterday I didn't do much. I checked a bit about my knowing because it was giving me a lot of errors. It still gives me some errors because of how it's configured and stuff. By the way, let me check that the audio is good because yeah, since I have now everything in separate audios, sometimes I don't see my mic audio, and I am not quite sure like if you're hearing me correctly or not. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yesterday I didn't do much to be honest. I just worked on my NixOS again, and I just tried to fix a bit my Neovim configuration because Lazy was not loading properly and stuff. Now it seems to not be giving errors. Well, Lazy doesn't seem to be giving errors. I know that it's not set up as it should be. That's also like one of the main reasons why I want to learn Lua, so that I can start to configure it properly. However, I will be probably no longer fully using Lua, Lazy, to configure my NeoBeam. I might switch to new way to manage packages, which uses a combination between Lua and also NixOS. And I don't know, it's a weird combination that makes it look really good. It makes the fucking hell. I forgot how to speak in English. It makes the adding packages and stuff have a make it sit really clean code, and it also makes it super easy to add packages and other stuff and configure stuff and well all of that scheisse. And so it just really comes in handy, and it's overall it looks really good. So I want to give it a shot. I would love to stick fully to lazy, not gonna lie, because I'm lazy. But taking in mind that it seems like the majority of people don't use only lazy when you work in NixOS. They combine it with something else. Then I will also be doing the same so that I can learn how to make it so that my NeoBeam works perfectly with my NixOS. Now, I have yet to put my NixOS in my GitHub repository. Reason being is because my NeoBeam is not properly set, and so it still gives errors when I enter my NeoBeam. Everything now has the proper colors and it just seems to be working fine, but there are still a couple of files that are not working, and I think that is because I am first of all in a Linux environment, in a Linux distribution, and also that distribution happens to be a lot more different than the rest of the distributions. And so basically some paths might be wrong, just based on it being a Linux distribution, and some might also be wrong because in NixOS asks for stuff to be configured in a certain way so that the reproducibility, well, portability, more like it, of your entire NixOS is easy to make. So, well, basically because of how NixOS works and it trying to be super portable. So, yeah, it's working. It seems to be working fine at least. it does keep error when I enter Neobim, so not ideal. But at least it seems to be working like for basic stuff. So for now, I will be working with that semi-broken Neobim, and once I learn how to program in Lua, I will completely check. I will fully check how to configure this my Neobim with this new package manager that I heard of. I have the forum open up, so I just need to read it, and then I will just like start to read it meanwhile I develop the game to get start to get an idea of how it works, and I will also like look into other things related with it to like start to also learn those, so that when I learn Lua, I can do some a proper job with my NixOS in terms of Neobim. Because for example, one other thing that I do want to do is rewatch some videos that I watch about NixOS programming, and also read the entire forum of NixOS. I will not read it in one day, obviously, but I want to start to read it little by little and read it completely until I like fully understand it, so that I can also make a proper NixOS in general configuration. Because right now I do understand NixOS, but I would say I max understand it 50% of the way, which is not ideal. And so I want to be able to fully understand it, so that I don't need to ever again ask anything about to a fucking AI, because you know that I fucking hate doing that, because I don't think that it gives proper code, and also because that just means that I am not actually learning how to configure NixOS. So I just want to just start to also read about the stuff meanwhile I do the game. So yeah, that's like my endpoint. My endpoint is whenever I finish with learning Lua, whenever I finish this game, because I mean finishing this game is technically not fully learning Lua, because I don't think that you can learn entire language so fast with just one project. I think you need to make multiple things on it to understand it pretty well. This will make me understand it fairly well as for me to be able to start to do some interesting things with Nua and be able to configure my lazy properly and just like stuff related with NeoBeam. But that's about it. I will not be a professional in any way in Lua or anything like that, nor do I search for being a professional. I just look into understanding it at a quite decent point, so that I can manage myself in Lua. And that's just basically about it. And then I also want to use some of my other free time in trying to set up things for the streams. So I will be working on other stuff for streams off camera. But yeah, I will be doing a few of these streams programming the game, but I mainly also want to do stuff off camera to try to improve my knowledge in software engineering and stuff like that, especially in terms of Linux and all of that. But also I want to focus a lot on trying to upgrade like my channel and all of that. So yeah, it will be a bit of a semi-long trip, let's say, but I mean little by little. So yeah. Anyways, so I think that's all that I have to say. So now we can get into actually developing the goddamn game. But Let me try to see if this will. Sorry about that. Let me check if this will detect the got NixOS, because as you know, sometimes CCO decides that it just doesn't want to detect it as it is doing right now. For example, right now it just decided that it just doesn't want to detect this shit. Yeah, because I normally seem to be able to detect it with the not the browser, the window capture, rather than the game capture. Because in game capture, for example, I am seeing it, but game capture won't actually like show it or anything at all. So yeah, I many times I do need to connect my TV, which by the way I moved it. So let me move it back a bit. Let me connect this shit. Now it's a matter of seeing if my Linux doesn't want to move there. Okay, I mean so far it didn't move to my other screen, so that's good. Now with that being done, will you actually detect my NixOS? That's my question. Okay, I might need to move my OBS over here, and sometimes that fixes it for some strange reason, which I don't fully get, but hey, if that works, that's fine by me. What are you seeing? Okay, you're currently not seeing anything. I know. Well, you're seeing my webcam. Give me a quick sec here. Okay, now you're actually detecting it. Yeah. And it was actually a okay. So let me bring you back. Okay, there we go. Now in theory this is well done. And you should be seeing it. Yeah, you are. Okay, so now let me change the title really quick. Um, alright. To time to start with the game. With the game. Alright. And then it will be development. So software. There we go. Let me now update this. Now this in theory should be updated. Yeah, it is updated. Okay, that's good. And now we can actually begin. You are seeing me and everything. Yes, you are. Okay, that's good. Me actually open my stream in full screen that I had it not in full screen and I couldn't see it perfectly. Now, should I also put some music or something? Maybe. I mean, now I have it configured so that the music is only for Twitch, so I can actually try to put some music on. Let me put something a bit chill, just to have as a background. YouTube music, okay, fuck you. YouTube music, there we go. Give me a sec here, guys. I'm just trying to set up the music. I also want to search for music that doesn't have actual copyright. I want to actually check if this one has copyright in terms of Twitch. Alright, you're not seeing the music, I know that much, so browser is muted, NixOS is not muted, music is not muted now. No, I need to go into properties and go into the music. Obsidian, music, YouTube music. I think it's this one. Let me have a look. Yeah, it's this one. Now I will be lowering an awful lot because I want the music to be very in the background. Do you, so that you barely are listening to it? I might actually just open my channel now to be able to hear myself as well on the stream, just to like confirm audience stuff. With the music there. By the way, you're seeing a black screen. I do know about that. Just give me a sec here to fully configure this actually. Let me do a quick transition. Meanwhile, I fully do this. So that it doesn't look weird or anything. The music. I don't think you are hearing much music, to be honest. Yeah, no, I need to higher the volume of the music. Okay. Yeah, let me try with that. That should one. Give me a sec. Okay, that's proper level, audio level. Now, however, would you hear me double if I have my stream open? Because I in theory, am telling it to capture my music only, but it might be capturing my entire browser. I don't think there is any double audio. If there is, please do tell me. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the case. Okay, well, that's good. Um, Now, I might actually mute myself. Previous stream, I left myself unmuted the entire time. It looked good, so yeah, for now, actually, you know what? I might leave myself unmuted. I think that's a lot better so that I can. Oh, no. Sorry about that. So that I can know all the time that I am. That I am using a proper level of audio. Well, that I am speaking loud enough. If you know what I mean. Okay, well, enough of me fucking babbling. Let's actually start to do this. Just get a little transition here going. Okay, there we go. Now you should be seeing it. Now, let's do the following. We will have here. What the fuck? Alright, there we go. We'll have here the browser, which I will be using Brave because one thing that I did do is install Zen, which I think I told you last time. But Zen, okay, first of all, you can see how Brave already is using a ton of my CPU. For some reason, sometimes it reaches 60 something, 64, 60 something, and usually it's around 50, which is already like an awful lot. It should not be using that much, but it is. Alright, first of all, you can fuck off. I should not need you. Can you fuck off, man? There we go. Okay. Now, I might actually delete everything. What's this? What's this git stuff? Check if your current directory is a git. Okay, yeah, no, I don't need that anymore. I don't need this repo anymore either. I don't need this either for now at least. Yeah, we should be fine. Alright. Now, so there is where I will leave my browser, and then in here I want to have my like my terminal for configuring stuff. Am I in Temux now? In theory I am. If I do Control E and then I do this, Yeah, I am. Alright. Actually, let me exit this. For now I will not be splitting. I don't need it right now. By the way, I'm looking at my keyboard and it needs a bit of cleaning. The keys are already starting to be a little bit dirty. I also need to clean my PC, by the way, because my PC is pretty dusty. So yeah, I should clean it up so that the airflow works properly because it's super fucking dusty and that's no good. Okay, so uh, let's go into Lua API. For now, we'll just leave it open like this. Okay, yeah, documentation.lua. That's perfectly fine. Reference manual. Okay. The official definition of Lua language is its reference manual, which describes the syntax and the. By the way, Lua is also made in Brazil because Elixir is from Brazil, right? Sorry for straying out of the conversation, but I'm just curious. What does Elixir mean? No, is Elixir and made in Brazil? Brazil. Well, doesn't matter. I think it is made in Brazil. Elixir, a dynamic programming language from Brazil, yeah. Now, do I don't know if it's also from Brazil? I don't think so, but in mind. The official definition of Lua language is referenced. By the way, today we will probably be reading a lot and stuff like that, rather than actually programming, but that's just how programming works. Normally, you do need to do a lot of research. Once you have like that knowledge, you can start to work on projects, and even then, you will encounter issues, and sometimes you need to search for them. So, this is something that people don't think much about when they think about programming, because I think the reason behind people thinking that programming is mainly just coding is due to how movie portraits hackers and programmers, mainly hackers because they usually put hackers for referencing any kind of programming. But yeah, the way that they do it is always like someone writing in a computer super fast with green code. With code, by green code I mean with code that has text foreground color of green. Basically a text color of green. Anyways, enough of me babbling about nonsense. The official definition of Lua is referenced manually, which describes the syntax and the same semantic of Lua. The standard libraries and the CAPI, the reference manual for all versions of Lua are available online in English. Some are available in other languages and as a printed book. Technical documentation. For more technical documentation, see the frequently asked questions and some old seminar sites. For detailed technical information on specific topics, see our old series of Lua technical notes and the wiki at luauser.org, especially the tutorial. You might also browse the source code. Papers. Okay, for now, let's go with reference manual. Reference manual. Where will you take me? Current version. Current version. Yeah. Okay, introduction. Lua is a powerful, efficient. Okay, let me have a look here. Okay, yeah, you talk about no error handling, metadata, sub, null, mode, pow, in garbage collectors, information garbage collectors. Okay, I know a good video made by Teach that explains like the basic stuff about Lua, and I think that that's a good way to like start. Now, what I will be doing this time around, however, is reading this entire page, which sure it's fucking long. It's a lot longer than I expected, not gonna lie, but really fucking long. But in the other hand, even though it's super long and Teach made a pretty good video talking about Lua and how to get started, I think it's good to read the documentation so that later on I can watch the video and I can understand a lot better stuff, even though I understood everything, because I already have a basis in other languages like C Sharp, and other stuff. Java. But anyways, it's always good to read the documentation in my opinion. So let's just read this. Even though yeah, I'm fucking lazy and to be completely honest, I don't want to read this. That's the main reason why I am saying nonsense right now. Okay. Introduction. By the way, you are not seeing it properly now, are you? Well, actually, no, you are. I might just leave it like on top and that thing. Lua is a powerful, efficient, lightweight, embeddable scripting language. It supports procedural programming, object-oriented programming, functional programming, data-derived programming, and data description. Lua combines simple procedural syntax with powerful data description constructs based on combine simple procedure. Should I change this to just reading? Just reading. Yeah, just reading. To just chatting rather than development, because I guess people when they think about development, they are thinking about seeing someone program and not read. So maybe I should change it to just chatting, but I will leave it as development for now. Lua combines simple procedural syntax with powerful data description, constructs based on associative arrays, and extensible semantics. Lua is dynamically typed, okay, runs by interpreting bytecode with a register-based virtual machine, and has automatic memory management with a generational garbage collection, making it ideal for configuration, scripting and rapid prototyping. Lua is implemented as a library written in clean C. The common, I like that because that means that I can check the libraries if I want and I will understand a big part of it. The common substance of standard C and C++. The Lua distribution. Okay, let me ban that but really quick. Let me open OBS. Let me close the fucking news that for some reason they decided to show up when I don't give a shit about the news. I fucking hate that sometimes it just decide to, you know what, I will show you the news. I never told you to fucking show me the news, so shut the fuck up. I don't know. Okay. Let me ban this user really quick. Can I just click on him and just ban? My suspicion. Man, why? I mean, I really I'm the streamer here. Okay, can I just do this then? Stop. No. I cannot do this directly from here apparently. Well, this fucking sucks. I need to write it. It would be nice to just be able to click a button and that's it, but apparently I'm not able to. Okay, Control C, there we go, and let's ban this guy. Yes, I can. Ban. Wrong thing. Wait, what the fuck? Why did and his username got copied? Copy. There we go. Now he should be man. Okay. Lua is an implemented as a library written in C, the common subset of standards C and C++. The Lua description includes a host programming called Lua, which uses the Lua library to offer a complete standalone Lua interpreter for interactive or batch use. Lua is intended to be used both as a powerful, lightweight, embedded scripting language for any program that needs one as powerful but lightweighted and efficient standalone language. As an extension language, Lua has no notion of main programs. It works embedded in a host client, called the embedding program or simply the host. Frequently, this host is the standalone Lua program. The host program can invoke functions to execute a piece of language code, can write and read Lua variables, and can register C functions to be called by Lua code. Let's read that again. The host program can invoke functions to execute a piece of Lua code, can write and read Lua variables, and can register C functions to be called by Lua code. Okay. Through the use of C functions, Lua can be augmented to cope with a wide range of different domains. Thus, certain customized programming languages sharing a syntactical framework. Lua is free software, and is provided as usual with no guarantees. Provided as usual with no guarantees. Okay. As a standard, sorry, as stated in its license, the implementation described in this manual is available at Lua's official website, www.lua.org. Like any other reference manual, this documentation is right in place for a discussion of the decisions behind the design of Lua. See the technical papers available at the Lua website. For a detailed introduction to programming in Lua, see Robert's book Programming in Lua. Basic concept. Okay, I might actually need to check that shit. Robert Programming in Lua. Programming in Lua by Robert. Hey, good old Robert. Let me have a look here. Yeah. This is the one. Okay, can you please fucking open up? Let's go directly to an Amazon. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. There's probably a PDF though, probably. But for now, I will just be reading the wiki, and that's it. Well, wiki, yeah, it's a wiki more like it. Basic concepts. This section describes the basic concepts of language. Value and types. Lua is dynamically typed language. This means that variables do not have types, only values do. There are no type definition in the language, all values carry their own type. This is something that has always been really strange to me, the dynamically typed languages. Python, I believe it's also the same way, and I don't know, it just kind of confuses me sometimes because I am used to typed languages, variable typed languages, I suppose they will be called. But yeah, anyways, what the fuck? Why am I getting 100 notifications? Sorry about that. Oh, reason being is that my phone over fucking heated. Yeah, I need to do something about that. What can I do though? Maybe I can. Yeah, no, that's not gonna stay right there. Maybe I can put it more in my. Yeah, I think I have found a spot that will not make my phone overheat. Now it overheated a bit. I will wait a bit for it to return to normal temperature. I think it kinda is already at the semi-decent temperature. And it's loading? No, it's not. Okay, I will let it rest for a bit. Once it returns to a decent temperature, I will try to put the camera back up. Anyway, source values in new are first class values. This means that all values can be stored in variables, passed as arguments to other functions, and returned as a result. Sorry. There are 8 basic types in Lua: nil, boolean, number, string, function, userdate, I guess, thread, and table. Okay, so boolean, nil, basically void and null. Number, any number, so there is no floatings or anything. A string, so array of characters. A function, well, a string, just a string, basically. Function, okay. Understand, no, sorry, user data. Not quite sure what that is. Threads, okay. And table, I guess it's arrays. I mean, tables, I don't think I remember about tables. I guess tables are more something like trees and stuff like that. Where it's like an array but a little bit more complex. Okay, anyways, enough of me bubbling. The type nil has one single value, nil, whose main property is to be different from any other value. It often represents the absence of a useful value. The type boolean has two values, false and true. Both nil and false make a condition false. They are collection. Both nil and false make a condition false. Okay, yeah. They are collectively called false values. Any other values makes a condition true. Despite its name, false is frequently used as an alternative to nil. With the key difference that false behaves like a regular value in a table, while a nil in a table represents an absent key. Yeah, it's more like a 3 or something like that. Yeah, well, I mean that makes sense because at the end, in like the grand majority of programming languages, a nil slash a null means that there is nothing there, and so that variable is not pointing to any direction in memory, and so basically, yeah, it's literally fucking empty. Okay, my phone is back online. Let me now connect the camera real quick and then we can continue. So camera. Why did I say US? USB. Oh, that one. Alright, so I mean, camera is back up. OBS, I don't think it's detecting it though. Come on, OBS. You're detecting camera? No, you're not detecting the camera. Let me have a look. Where the fuck is my mouse? Okay, webcam. Default, yes. Alright. Sorry about the dirty mouth. So I found a spot, a semi-decent spot right there. Yeah, you might follow me. Give me a sec. Let me try to cook here. Let him cook. Okay, so what if I move the dirty cup right over here? Let's go with something like that. Oh, that's way too low. Maybe something like that. Alright, we're back apparently. I am at a bit of a weird angle, but better than nothing, I guess. I normally have the camera right in front of me. Now it's at the screen that I usually look at, so maybe that's a little bit better. Better, even. Let me have a look. Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah, that's nice. Alright. That's also a lot easier for me to look at you guys. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. Tables are the sole data structuring mechanism in Lua. They can what tables? Okay, and they can be used to represent originally arrays, lists, symbol tables, sets, records, graphs, trees, etc. So basically, yeah, there's a generic array which can be transformed into lists, trees, graphs, records, etc. To represent records, Lua uses the file name as an index. The language supports this representation by providing a dot name as a syntactic use sugar, yeah, I guess sugar, for a name. There are several fucking hell, give me a sec. There are several convenience. There are several convenient ways to create tables in Lua. See, I guess that's later on. Where are we going? Right. Like indices, the value of table fields can be of any type. In particular, because functions are first-class values, table fields can contain functions. Thus, tables can also carry methods. Tables can contain functions. Tables. Okay. can be of any type in particular. Okay, because functions are first class values. Okay, so yeah, basically tables can also have functions as index. Well, can store functions because they functions are also just like a type of variable, and basically tables can administer any type of variable. Okay, anyways, the index of tables follows the definition of raw quality in the language. The expression a no a e a I'm sorry, I'm really dumb at English and I never remember. Yeah, this will be an E, right? AE and AG denote the same table element if what the fuck? Denote the same table element if and only if A no sorry E and J are raw. Did I forgot how to English or what the fuck is going on all of a sudden with me? Brain is not working all of a sudden. Brain went like, nah man, I will just stop working here. They're not the same table element if and only if E and J are raw equal. That is equal without meta methods. In particular, floats with integral values are equal to their respective integers. In particular, floats with integer values are equal to their respective integers. So example 1.0 is equal to 1, which yeah, that makes sense. To avoid ambiguities, any float used as a key that is equal to an integer is converted to the integer. For instance, if you write 2.0 is equal to true, the actual key inserted into the table will be integer 2. That makes perfect sense. Tables, functions, threads, and full user data values are objects. Table functions, threads, and full user data values are objects. Variables do not actually contain these values. Wait, they are objects. Tables, functions, threads, and full user data values are objects. Tables, yeah, I get it. Functions, bit weird. Threads, I get it. And user data, I don't fully understand what that is, not gonna lie. Variables do not actually contain these values, only references to them. Assignments parameter. Okay, wait. Variables do not actually contain these values, only reference to them. So variables. I am assuming they are in the heap. No, in the stack. It will be right because they get deleted. And since they are just like referencing the space in the memory where they are more like temporary and not something that will stay there. I guess that's what it means. Anyways, variables do not actually contain the values, only reference to them. Assignment, parameters passing, and function returns always manipulate reference to such values. These operations do not imply any kind of copying. The library function type returns a string describing the type of a given value. See types. The library function type returns a string describing the type of a given value. Okay. Environments and the global environments. As we will discuss further in 3.2 and 3.3, any reference to a free name, yeah, that is a name not bound to any declaration, bar is okay. That is a name, not a name. The fuck. That is a name not bound to any declaration. What do you mean? To any declaration. A name not bound to any. Do you mean, for example, if I write 2 or 5 in, I don't know, let's say a function, or I add name of a file or something in a function, I am declaring like that thing directly and not passing it a variable with that value. Is that what you mean by not bound to any declaration? I guess so. Bar is syntactically translated to end. Moreover, every chunk is compiled in the scope of an external local variable name. And 3.3.2. So env itself is never a free name in a chunk. Any reference a free name that is a name not bound to. Okay. So a free name is basically something that's not bound to a declaration. Okay. Despite the existence of this external env variable and the translation of free names, env is a completely regular name. Variables and translation of free names is a completely regular name. Okay. In particular, you can define new variables and parameters with that name. Each reference to a free name uses the env that is visible at that point in the program. Each reference to a free name uses the env that is visible at that point in the program. Okay. Following the usual visibility rules of Lua. Any table used as the value of env is called an environment. Okay. Lua keeps a distinguished environment called the global environment. This value is kept at a special index in the C registry. C 4.3 in Lua. I think I will stop reading the C section and just like ignore that completely. C registry in Lua, the global variable g is initialized with the same value. G is never used internally, so changing its value will affect only your own code. Okay, in Lua, the global variable g is initialized with the same value. G is never used internally, so changing its value will be affected only your own code. When Lua loads a chunk, the default value for its end variable is the global environment. When Lua loads a chunk, the default value for its end variable is the global environment. See load. Therefore, By default, free name in Lua code references refer to entries in the global environment, and therefore they are also called global variables. So, by default, free names in Lua code refer to entries in the global environment, and therefore they are called global variables. So basically, global variables are free names, or free names are global variables. I think free names are global variables, but not all global variables are free names. Maybe? Moreover, all standard libraries are loaded in the global environment, and some functions there. Okay, let's repeat that. All standard libraries are loaded in the global environment, and some functions there operate on the environment. All standard libraries are loaded in the global environment. All standard libraries are loaded in the global environment, and some functions there operate on that environment. Okay, so libraries. All standard libraries are loaded in the global environment, so that basically you can use the functions that are in that library on that environment. That's why the libraries are global. Okay. Sorry about that. You can use load or load file to load a chunk with a different environment. In C, you have to load the chunk and then change the value of its first up value. See Lua set up value. Error handling. By the way, I read super slow, so this will take forever. Several operations in Lua can raise an error. An error interrupts the normal flow of a program. Okay, several operations in Lua can raise an error. An error interrupts the normal flow of the program, which can continue by catching the error. Lua code can explicitly raise an error by calling the error function. This function never returns. To catch errors in Lua, you can do a protected call using bcall or xbcall. The function bcall calls a given function in protected mode. Any error while running the function stops its execution and controls returning immediately to bcall. Which returns a status code. Because Lua is an embedded execution language, Lua code starts running by a call from C code in the host program. When you use Lua standalone, the Lua application is the host program. Usually, this call is protected. So when an otherwise unprotected error occurs during the compilation or execution of a Lua chunk, control returns to the host, which can take appropriate measures such as printing an error message. However, there is an error. An error object is propagated with information about the error. Lua itself only generates errors whose error object is a string, but programs can generate errors with any value as the error object. It is up to Lua program or its host to handle such error objects. For historical reasons, an error object is often called an error message, even though it does not have to be a string. When you use pcall or Lua pcall in C, you can give a message handler to be called in case of errors. The function is called with the original error object and returns a new error object. It is called before the error unwinds the stack, so that it can gather more information about the error. For instance, by inspecting the stack and creating a stack traceback, this means handler is still protected by the protected call. So an error inside the message handler will call the message handler again. If this loop goes on for long, Lua breaks it and returns an appropriate message. The message handler is called only for regular runtime errors. It is not called for memory allocation errors, nor the error will return finalizer or other message handlers. Lua also offers a system of warning, warn. Unlike errors, warnings do not interfere in any way with the program execution. They typically only generate a message to the user, although this behavior can be adapted for C, Lua, set1f. So with the xpcon or pcon, can I do any error handling as per usual in other languages? Basically, can I do try catches with that? Is that basically a try catch for Lua? But yeah, it's nice like giving an error, but if I can handle it and be like, okay, you will do this and you will also like give the error message, then that would be excellent. Meta tables and meta methods. Okay. Every value in Lua can have a meta table. This meta table is an ordinary Lua table that defines the behavior of the original value under certain events. You can change several aspects of the behavior of a value by setting specific fields in its meta table. For instance, when a non-numerical value is the operand of an addition, Lua checks for a function in the field add of the values meta table. If it finds one, Lua calls this function to perform the addition. The key for each event in a meta table is a string with the event name prefixed by two underscores, and the corresponding value is called a meta value. Okay. For most events, the meta value must be a function which is called a meta method. Okay. For most events, the meta value must be a function which is called the meta method. In the previous example, the key is the string add, and the method is the function that performs the addition. Unless okay, so the key is the string add, and the method is the function that performs the addition. unless stated otherwise, a meta method can in fact be any callback value, which is either a function or a value with a meta method. A meta method can in fact be any any callback value, which is either a function or a value with a callback method. Okay. You can query the metatable of any value using the getMetatable function. Lua queries meta methods in metatables using a raw access crawget. Okay, you can replace the metatable of tables using the set metatable function. You can change the metatable of other types from Lua code. You can change the metatable of other types from Lua code, except by using the debug library. Okay, so you can replace the metatable of tables using the set metatable function. You can change the metatable of the other types from Lua code except by using the debug library. Okay, so basically I can change the metatable of any value in that table. Sorry about yawning. Of any value of the table. So I could be like, hey, this value, I needed to not do an addition, sorry, but I wanted to do subtraction, and then you can change the meta table of that value, so that rather than using the meta method of addition, it uses the meta method of abstraction. But then I guess you would also need to change the string, which would be the meta value, I guess. Okay, let's continue. You can replace the meta table of tables using the set. Yeah, we already read that. Tables and the full update have in tables and full user data have individual meta tables. Tables and full user data have individual meta tables. Although multiple tables and user data can share their metatables, values of all other types share on. I am a bit tired, not gonna lie. I am not gonna end the stream here, but I'm gonna go get some coffee. So I will be right back, guys. I am fucking sleepy as hell. Let me put a text here of me RV. Let's go with just man. No, with 42 and let me find a decent font. And use my keyboard. Some keyboard ASMR. So you know what? This is fairly good for like a semi-cafeteria look and stuff. Be right back for now. I'm gonna and note sit back, I don't know, something like sit back. Lay down. Lay down, no, lay down, no. Well, enjoy your stay. I don't know. Something similar like that. Previously I had a good BRB, but I don't remember what it was. Not gonna lie. Give me a little second. Let's go with this really quick. Give me a little sec, guys. Almost done. And yeah, that's right. Okay. Now, as for music, what is my browser? Over here. Seems to be okay, so let's just use this. And let's try to make this a little bit smaller. And no, wrong thing. And this can be back there. Alright, transition. Yeah, I mean, not the best, but that's pretty decent. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I think I will leave you with this music. BRB. What the? Okay, now you can hear me. Hey, we're back. Now, let me position the camera a little bit better. Well, so much for positioning the camera a little bit better. Give me a sec to reposition this. Need to lay it down on something. And I don't have much right now. I have my wallet. I guess I can use my wallet. Can you see me properly there? I don't know. Oh fuck. Give me a sec. Let me cook a bit. I know you are using a black screen. That's because I don't have a fucking huh? Oh. You know what? Let me at least put this back up so that you are looking at something interesting. There's people with go like, oh, that looks that looks interesting. I'm not doing anything literally. Just trying to fix the camera. Come on, just a little bit more downwards, a bit more. There should be perfect, but you are falling now. Alright, I have something that I can use. Yeah, actually. No. Let me put myself some coffee. Excess of coffee. And now I can use the coffee mug. Well, not the coffee mug, the coffee thing. Alright, now I have this fucking mess. I need to clean my desk. I need to do a bit of cleaning here. Well, my room is a bit of a mess. I kinda cleaned it yesterday, but I still need to clean it a little bit more. Camera okay now? Yes, I mean you can also see me typing and stuff, so that's kinda nice. Even though I will not be doing much typing. Let me just prepare my coffee now. Just some water and coffee. I didn't even heat it up because I'm fucking lazy. Basically, there is no other thing here. I do usually like my coffees cold, but the problem with using a soluble, well, no, not even like the problem because it is a lot easier with soluble. But the problem is that since it's not heated up, since it was never heated up, it's a lot harder to make it so the coffee grains actually get mixed in this case in the water. But I mean, they are pretty well mixed right now. Not the best flavor because it's a pre-made coffee, let's say. I don't know. I don't remember how this type of instant coffee. That's the name, instant coffee. It's instant coffee, but it's still pretty fine. Pretty good either ways. Anyways, let's continue. Proceed to take a sip of the coffee. So, every value in Lua can have a meta table. This meta table is an ordinary Lua table that defines the behavior of the original values under certain events. You can change several. Wait, what the fuck? Let's repeat that. Every value in Lua can have a meta table. Okay, that's okay. That sounds about right. This meta table is an ordinary Lua table that defines the behavior of the original value under certain events. Okay, so basically, every value Lua can have a meta table. That doesn't mean that it has to have one, but it can have a meta table. And now, what that meta table does is that the value, the original value under set, okay, is that that value, when a certain event happens, let's suppose, I don't know, a click, an enter, a click in a spacebar, or writing addition, subtraction, or just writing anything, like any sort of event. When you like, you can basically tell it, okay, for example, when you click the spacebar, then you will do that. So that's why what the meta table will be used for telling it, okay, this value slash variable or whatever will do X thing whenever X thing is on. X thing happens, let's say. X thing being in the event. Well, X thing happening being the event, sorry. You can change several aspects of the behavior of a value by setting specific fields in the meta table. For example, what the fuck, okay, I'm fucking dying here from the hot. It's way too hot here. What temperature are we actually? Let me have a look. I quite interesting. I know that I am doing everything except programming right now, but I am genuinely interested in seeing what temperature we are at right now. Temperature. Okay, let me check my specific area. Okay, so we are at 28 degrees. Okay, so not that bad actually. Pretty chill. But then we will go to 31. However, it will be raining, so it's not actually that much of a problem, I would say. Fucking hell, Friday 30 full sun, Saturday 30 full sun, and Sunday 33 full sun. And I live in Madrid. I don't even live in somewhere like Mallorca or Sevilla or something like that, where the fucking heat is immense. Anyways, as I don't remember when I went to Sevilla that we reached a temperature of like 42 or something like that, because sometimes they put the temperature that is the temperature that we are currently at in the signs of the pharmacies, and you see it, and I just passed one. I saw it, and I saw 42 or something like that, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I want to die. Anyways, enough of me babbling. Every value in Lua can have a meta table. This meta table is an ordinary Lua table that defines the behavior of the original value under certain events. You can change several aspects of the behavior of a value by setting specific fields in its meta table. For instance, when a non-numerical value is the operand of an addition, wait, let's repeat that. You can change several aspects of the behavior of a value by setting specific fields in its meta table. The behavior of, okay, yeah, that makes sense. The behavior of a value. For instances, when a non-numerical value is the operand on an addition, Lua checks for a function in the field add of the values metatable. If it finds one, Lua checks for a function in the field and of the values of the metadata. Okay, if it finds one, Lua calls this function to perform the addition.
Each tribe has a specific meaning to a specific person. There's no villager song.
Okay,
no song
so
for killing creepers.
for example, let's suppose that you have
Doing something unique. What
a
this
point
means
2
is the oral
and point 4.8.
It's not something that many
Then it will check the addition table, I guess, and check for any functions in that table
is made for you.
that operate with floating numbers, and then it will be using that one. But if you use, for example, a string or a letter or something like that, it might look for, I don't know, for example, fucking how were this called? Give me a sec. Let me try to remember. It's one of these moments when you have it in the tip of your tongue, but you cannot bring it out. Imaginary numbers. So if you have an I, for example, I, it will search for something like that. Or if you have any other number, it will might check for something else. Or maybe just directly goes like, you know what, you are using a letter, we do not admit letters in our additions, fuck off. And then it just tells you to basically that it doesn't work because you are using something different like than a numeric value. Maybe. Or it just directly doesn't do anything. And the methods, the function that performs addition, unless stated otherwise, a meta method can in fact be any callback. Callable value. Okay, so let's return. In the previous example, the key is the string, and the method is the function that performs the addition. Unless stated otherwise, meta method can in fact be any callable value, which is either a function or a value with a callback method. Alright. You can query the meta table of any value using the getMetaTable function. Lua requires meta methods in metatables using a raw access. See raw get. You can replace the metatable of labels using the setMetaTable function. You cannot change the metatable of other types from Lua code, except by using the debug library. Okay, let's repeat that. You can query the metatable of any value using the getMetaTable function. You can query the metatable of any value using the query. So you can So you can call a specific method using the typical get. The getter of the metatable. That requires meta methods in the metatable using a raw access. Say raw get. Okay. You can replace a metatable of tables using the setMetaTable function. Okay, so they also have sets. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. You cannot change the metatable of other types from Lua code, except by using the debug library. Okay, so they are basically locked. Tables and full user data have individual metatables. Although multiple tables and user data can share their metatables, values of all other types share one single metatable per type. Tables and full user data have individual metatables. tables and full user data have individual tables, metatables. Okay, haven't we already read that, by the way? Although multiple tables and user data can share their metatables, multiple tables and user data can share their metatables. Okay, so they can be using the same metatable. Okay, values of all other types share one single metatable per type. Values of all other types share one single metatable per type. Okay, so the values of on the rest of the types uh, only use one single metatable. So like each the rest of the types have their own metatable and cannot share the same metatable with other value with other types. Sorry. And that is, there is one single metatable for all numbers, one for all strings, etc. By default, a value has no metatable, but the string library sets a metatable for the string type. Okay, so the values, when you declare a value in a variable, it doesn't automatically get assigned a metatable, but uh, it basically gets assigned a type, and so that type of variable not has a metatable, and so I guess technically you can make it so that that value then can use the metatable of the type that that value is of. Right. Data the data inlet detail sorry, a detailed list of operations controlled by okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted there. A detailed list of operations controlled by metatables is given next. Each event is defined by its corresponding key. Wait, what? A detailed list of operations controlled by metatables is given next. A detailed list of operations controlled by metatables is given next. Oh, okay. Each event is identified by its corresponding key. Okay. By convention, all metatables keys used by Lua are composed by two underscores followed by lowercase Latin letter. Latin letter. Sorry. Okay, so there are predefined keys basically. I guess you can make more keys if you wanted, maybe, but you will probably need to like get really in depth. Okay, as the addition plus operation, if any operand for an addition is not a number, Lua will try to call a meta method. It starts by checking the first sorry. It starts by looking at the first operand, even if it's a number. Wait, what the fuck? I'll repeat that. If any operand for an addition is not a number, Lua will try to call a method. Okay, it starts by checking the first operand, even if it's a number. If that operand does not define a meta method for a, Lua will check the second operand. If Lua can find a method, it goes that the method with the two operands as arguments. Okay, and the result of the call adjusted to one value. And the result of that call adjusted to one value is the result of the operation. Otherwise, if no method is found, NUA raises an error. Okay, so basically, let me get where the fuck is my own headphone charger? Let me switch because it ran out of battery. My hair is a fucking mess. So basically, what I understand from this is that basically you might have a, let's say, a plus and then a minus. Okay? And then it will go like, okay, first we have the operand of plus. So is based on like the parameters, the variables that you are using, which it might be like a and then 3. Is there an addition? Is there any method of addition that I can use that will take a character dash string? Well, a will only be a character, but you get what I mean. Let's say a character in the addition. There is no method that accepts that as a parameter. Okay. Skip the addition method and go for the next operand and check if the methods of that operand that are in the metadata table, if any of the methods there do accept the character. If they do, then you use that. The method that then you use the method that accepts the character, and then you do like the subtraction in that case. If not, and there is no more operands after that one, then you give an error. Which I guess that's kind of really a bit heavy in memory if you do it wrong. If you don't program it correctly, I guess. Because then basically what you are doing is a similar thing in Unity where you try to find an object, for example, by name or that. Especially by name, where it goes through all the objects in your scene and tries to find which one has that name. So you're basically checking each object. Yeah, and you're checking each object in your scene. So the first object checks no. Okay, next object checks no. Next object checks no. Until it finally. And the problem with that is that you're basically doing this operation of checking each one rather than just directly knowing where it is and checking that single object and being like, okay, the object is here, so we know it's this one, so we use it. And we didn't need to do any operation of checking each one, which doesn't seem like much, but when you do that many times, it affects performance. So my problem is that by doing that, wouldn't you be technically doing the same? And so that's a bit of a problem in my opinion. I guess it's also good because that way you confirm that you will always like be doing the right thing, I guess. But I guess you are also like sacrificing the performance as I said. Anyway. I should get rid of the spoon, by the way. A spoon is of no use to me right now. You're fucking useless. Okay, the subtraction minus operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. The multiplication operation Behavior similar to the addition operation. Div, the division operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. The module operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. The mode, I guess, it's like the residue of a division, which is usually what that stands for in the majority of programming languages that I have used. Power, power. You already have a power implemented. That's nice. Usually need to add a math library for that. Well, I mean, yeah, you're basically made of many libraries, so might as well add it there already, I guess. Power, the exponential. Sorry, the exponentiation. Ah, my ear is fucking itchy. You know when your ear sometimes itches, which I guess that means that you need to clean your ear a lot. I will need to go to a professional because it's not recommended to do it yourself. Anyway, enough of the dog. Well, you know when your ear itches, when you have your headphones, and so it itches, but like right inside of the channel, and you're like, well, I cannot do much now. No. And that's a bit annoying. Anyways, stop of me saying nonsense. Let's continue. Exponentiation operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. The negation. Okay, that's interesting. You already have a negation. Unary. Unary minus. Okay. Curious. Operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. Well, that actually is good. A good way to define it because I wouldn't know how to do it otherwise. We'll probably put something very similar, a string and then minus or something like that. Anyways, edib, the floor division, the floor division. Not gonna lie, lie. I don't know what that does. Operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation. The bitwise AND operation. Bitwise AND operation. Behavior similar to the addition operation, except that Lua will try meta methods if any operation is neither an operation is neither an is neither an integer nor a float correspond coercible to an integer c. Coercible to an integer c. Okay. So the and is not actually a normal and in all other languages. I'm assuming it is, but maybe it's not. The bitwise, it is actually. Okay, the bitwise OR operation. Behavior similar to the bitwise AND operation, yeah. BXOR, I'm going to say bitbox. BXOR, the bitwise execute exclusive or binary. The bitwise exclusive or binary operation. Behavior similar to the bitwise AND operation. Binary, only for binary. Okay, that's interesting. Not. The bitwise not unrate. And then the curly braces? No, I forgot how that shit is called. The fucking swirly shit. Operation. Behave similar to the bitwise AND operation. Ishin. CHL. The bitwise left shift operation. Behavior similar to the bitwise AND operation. Double, okay. SH right. The bitwise right shift operation behavior similar to bitwise and operation. In my alarm up. Okay, I will have to move you guys a bit. I still have not deactivated the alarms because I am numb. The concatenation, well, more like I'm lazy. The concatenation to the operations. Behavior similar to the addition operation, except that Lua will try a method if any operand is neither a string nor a number, which is always coercible to coercible to a string. Okay. Then the length operation. If the object is not a string, Lua will try its meta methods. If there is a meta method, Lua calls it with the object as an argument, and the result of the call always adjusts to one value. Is the result? Sorry. Alright, let me repeat that. Lua calls it with the object as an argument, and the result of that call always adjusts to one value. Is the result of the operation. If there is no meta method but the object is a table, then Lua uses the table length operation. Otherwise, Lua raises an error. Okay, the equal operation behaves similar to the addition operation, except the Lua will try a meta method only when the values being compared are either both table or both full user data, and they are not primitive equal. The result of the call is always converted to a boolean. Yeah. Until the less than. Okay, this is less than. Then that is the left shift and right shift. Is that just telling you, for example, if the left shift and right shift is basically if I have, for example, an A and an S, and I use that, and am I telling him basically to move the S to be the first letter and A to be the last letter? Just basically like switching braces, moving the S to the left. In the case of the left shift, maybe. I don't know exactly what that does, but I am assuming it maybe does that. Anyways, less than operation behaves similar to the addition operation, except that Lua will try meta methods only when the value being compared are neither both numerics nor both strings. Moreover, the result of the call is always converted to a boolean. Left less than less equal less equal operation. I guess we also have a more than and more equal. The less equal operation behaves similar to the less than operation. I guess you can make different than less, and then that will basically then less equal or less, and then that will be like the more than or more equal operation. So that way you don't need to make the more equal, maybe. Anyways, index, the index access operation table key. Okay, I will return to what I was saying. Sorry. I mean, technically you can do that, and that will be like making programming similar to how is this called? To logic gates, which I mean, programming at the end of the day, at the like the base level is well, even baser it will be like zeros and one, right? But basically that would be yeah, logic gates. So programming are basically logic gates. So I guess you could follow the same principle of logic gates where you can make the same well, a similar thing just using other logic gates. For example, the less than less equals, as I said, you can probably make it combining that with a different than to make them more than or more equal, and that way you don't have to like make a really similar code but just slightly change, and that way you don't have like extra code, I guess, which I don't know if that will optimize it or not. Maybe it will. I guess it could optimize like the language if you did something like that. Anyways, enough of me babbling. Well, the thing is that we have, for example, not seen a different than, have we? Index. The indexing access operation table key. This event happens when table is not a table or when key is not present in a table. The meta value is looked up in the meta table of tables. Come on. How? Sorry. What? I went into Spanish for some reason. The index access operation table key, so it will be basically a key. The event happens when table is not a table or when table is not a table. Huh? Or when key is not present in table. Okay. The meta value is looked up in the meta table of table. Okay, basically when you have a table that doesn't have keys, then you use an index. Is that what you're telling me? The key. The metadata for this event can be either a function, a table. The meta value for this event can be either a function, a table, or any value with an index meta value. If it is a function, it is called with table and key as arguments, and the result of the call. Oh, I'm not understanding anything. I will need to reread that. Let me check something real quick. Let me check if someone is live. Yeah, was he live? Okay. We have a reader now. Actually? Wait, what the fuck? Why is she? What is she doing streaming at this hour? The fuck is going on here? I will continue reading. I will not end stream right now. I will continue reading a little more. But I was certainly not expecting her to be streaming right now. Anyway, let me continue then. Let's continue reading then. There, coffee done. Coffee has been finished. Alright. The meta value for this event can be either a function, a table, or any value with an index meta value. The meta value for this event can be either a function, a table, the meta value of this event can be either a function, makes sense, a table, I guess it makes sense, or any value with an index meta value. Okay. If it is a function, it is called with the table and the key as arguments. By the way, there are some things that are a bit confusing to me, but I think that what will happen is that I will finish reading this article. I will understand many things. Some other things I will be a bit confused about it, but then when I watch the video that I told you that TA made, and then I watch other videos and stuff about the Lua, then those things will start to make sense, and some things I will go like, oh, so this is this, but it was just phrased in a way that it's what the fuck? Water. No, I don't. Give me a sec. Fucking hell. I don't know why that happens sometimes, but sometimes I am speaking and all of a sudden my throat goes like, yeah, you know what? No, you're not gonna talk anymore. And it's just in like, like if someone punched me in the throat, but like from the inside or something like that. Like, I don't know, all of a sudden it's like that, like a punch, but like it dries your entire throat in an instant. I don't know how to describe it, and it just feels awful. But it's just like all of a sudden you stop speaking and you cannot speak, and you need to like wait a bit. Well, I need to wait a bit before I am able to speak again, and I usually just go for water because for me that's just like telling me, yeah, get some water. You should drink some water. Holy shit, I still feel it a bit, but let's continue. The method value for this event can be either a function, a table, or any value with an index, meta value. If it is a function, it is called with a table and key as arguments. Okay, and the result of the call adjusts to one value. And the result of the call adjusts with one value is the result of the operation. And the result of the call adjusts to one value is the result of the operation. Okay. And the final result is the result of indexing this meta value with a key. The final result is the result of the indexing this meta value with a key. This indexing is regular, not raw, and therefore can trigger another index meta value. Huh? I didn't understand jack shit, no. If it's a function, it calls it's called with a table and key as arguments. So if the meta value is passed a function, then that function is called with table and key as argument, so that then it can look at the proper thing to do in that function. What it is basically telling what that function should do exactly. So it's like if the function had a function inside of it, basically. And it's just, well, it is as if the function had a meta table inside of it, and then it checks one of the functions of the meta table it should use, and that's why you pass an index slash a key. So it goes like, okay, we will use this one specifically. So for example, you pass an addition, a function is an addition, and then it will look at what addition to use based on the key, and it will go like, okay, we want to do this specific addition, and the result of that call adjust to one value is the result of the operation, and then the result of that of whatever method, let's say it was used based on the key that it was given, is the result of the is what it gives us a result, because it's the result of that operation. Otherwise, the final result is the result of indexing this meta value with key. Is the result of indexing this meta value with key. This indexing is regular, not raw, and therefore can trigger another indexing meta value. Okay, so the result is the indexing of the value with the key, and so with that you perform like a different thing, and then that thing, well, the result of that thing is the value. A bit confusing still, but I think it's kind of understanding. Whenever a new index meta value is invoked, Lua does not perform the primitive assignment. Whenever a new index meta value is invoked, Lua does not perform the primitive assignment. Whenever a new index meta value is invoked, Lua does not perform the primitive assignment. Okay, so when you pass it an index, it will not go for like the default primitive assignment. If not, it will go for the one corresponding to the index that you passed it. If needed, the meta method itself can call reset to the assignment. Okay. Call. The call operation function args. This event happens when Lua tries to call a non-function value. That is not a function. The meta method is called up in function. If present, the meta method is called with func as its first argument, followed by the arguments of the original call args. All results of the call are the result of the operation. This is the only method that allows multiple results. Okay, so call, you pass it a function as the argument. If that function this event happens when Lua tries to call a non-function value. That is, func is not a function. And if the value you pass it is not a function, then in meta method it looks up in function. Then it uses a meta method that makes sense with the argument that you pass it, I guess. In addition to the previous list, the interpreter also respects the following keys in the meta tables: yes, see, close, okay, mode, and the name. The entry name, okay, with it containing a string, maybe with it containing a string. Maybe use the string and in error messages. For the unary operation, negation length and bitwise not, the meta method is computed and called with a dummy second operation equal to the first one and equal to the first one. This extra operation is only to simplify Lua internals by making this operation behave like a binary operation. Okay, and may be removed in the future version. For most users, this extra operation is irrelevant, okay, because metatables are regular tables. They can contain arbitrary fields. Not only the embedded names defined above, some functions in the standard library to string use other fields in metatables for their own purpose. It is a good practice to add all needed meta methods to a table before setting it as a meta table of some object. Okay. In particular, the GS meta method works only when the order is flown. See, it is also a good practice to set the meta table of an object right after its creation. Okay, so like this is fine. My problem is, for example, I am already I am not an expert at software engineering or anything like that. I am pretty new at this. I am pretty new. I have been doing this for 3 years. I started seriously 3 years ago with C Sharp. Then I went to university and I started to learn C and other languages and other stuff about software engineering and programming and stuff. So I am decently knowledgeable, let's say, and I am still confused with certain things. And so it's like my problem with this wiki so far is that I think it's really hard for beginners. I mean, the book did suggest it might be a lot better, but I think like it's way too hard for beginners because you need to explain like the really basic stuff to beginners of, well, a variable is as if you had a box and you could put in the box a number or whatever thing you want, a number, a letter or something like that. Like, I feel like you need to explain first like what a variable is and stuff like that before being like strings and this and that, and you know, and tables, because then it's like a table. What the fuck is a tree? What the fuck is a array? What the, you know? Like, I understand what that shit is, but a newbie won't have any fucking idea. So at least I would suggest like I would say reference other forums or other wikis that explain what variables are, what arrays are, what strings are, what a table might be, and stuff like that, you know? Even if it's not specific like for your language, but like all languages use variables and stuff, so like just understanding like the basic concept or of those basic things, I feel like it's important so that people can understand what they are reading, I think. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Lua performs automatic memory management. This means that you do not have to worry about allocation memory for new objects or referring it when the objects are no longer needed, or freeing it when objects are no longer needed. So you don't need to do any malloc or recalloc or freeing. Lua manages memory automatically by running a garbage collector to collect all dead objects. All memory used by Lua is subject to automatic management. By the way, I do think that learning C is really important, at least C++. One of two, C or C++. Did you learn the two of them? I think that's brilliant. I think that it's important to at least understand C and C++, C or C++ at the basic level at least, in order that so that you can understand how pointer works, how things are stored in the memory. Not super extensively, but at least you get an idea of how things are stored, and also you get the idea of how memory management works, so that you can understand how other language basically do this stuff, and you can go oh, okay, so this is already managed, this works, this already deals with all this bullshit. I don't fully understand it, but I get an idea. So I think it's important, but maybe that's just my way of thinking things. Maybe nowadays you can go well, it's not important because nowadays you don't use much C, but I do think that C is still used quite a lot, but I have not yet entered the professional industry, so I guess I can't really talk much about it. I don't think that learning C is or C++ is important. Anyway, an object is considered dead as soon as the collector can be sure that the object will not be accessed again in the normal execution of the program. Normal execution here excludes finalizers, which can resurrect that objects. Okay, that's interesting. And excludes also operations using the debug library. Note that the time when the collector can be sure that an object is dead might not coincide with the program's expectations. The only guarantee are that Lua will not collect an object that might still be accessed in the normal execution of the program, and it will eventually collect an object that is inaccessible from Lua. Here in for Lua. Here inaccessible for Lua means that neither a variable nor another live object refer to the object. Because Lua has no knowledge about C code, it never collects objects accessible through the registry, which includes the global environment. The garbage collector GC in Lua can work in two modes: incremental and generational. The default GC mode with the default parameters are adequate for most users. However, programs that waste a large proportion of their time allocating and freeing memory can benefit from other settings that make sense. Keep in mind that the GC behavior is non-portable both across platforms and across different Lua releases. That also makes more sense. Therefore, optimal settings are also non-portable. You can change the GC mode and parameters by calling Lua GC in C or collect garbage in Lua. You can also use these functions to control the collector directly. Example, to stop and resorting. Incremental garbage collector. Come on. There's quite a bit about garbage collector. Awake tables, curtains. Okay, that's nice. The language, lexical conventions. Okay. Variables. Oh. Variables are further down, which is quite interesting. I mean, I guess like also clicking on the C on this stuff is also useful. So that, if you don't understand what it's saying right there, you can click there and then read that, and so you go like, okay. So yeah, that's also like my bad for reading it like in a straight line rather than clicking on the links. But since I understand the majority of things, I am not clicking on them. I will arrive at them eventually, but yeah, currently I'm not clicking on them. Generational garbage collection. In generational mode, the collector does not frequent minor collection, which traverses only objects recently created. If after a minor collection, the user if after a minor collection the use of memory is still above a limit, the collector does stop. Wait, what? If after a minor collection the use of memory is still above a limit, okay. The collector does stop the word major collection, which traverses all objects. The generational mode uses two parameters, the minor multiplier and the major multiplier. The minor multiplier controls the frequency of minor collection. For a minor multiplier x, a new minor collection will be done when memory grows x amount, larger than the memory in use after the previous major collection, well, x percentage. For instance, for a multiplier of 20, the collector will do a minor collection when the use of memory gets 20% larger than the use after the previous major collection. The default value is 20, the maximum value is 200. The major multiplier controls the frequency of major collection. For a major multiplier x, a new major collection will be done when major grows x percentage larger than the memory in use after the previous major collection. For instance, for a multiplier of x, the collector will do a major collection when the use of memory gets larger than twice the use after the previous collection. The default value is 100, the maximum value is 1000. 253 is this last of garbage collection. Yeah, we will read this and then I will end stream. 2.53 Garbage collection methods. You can send garbage collection methods for tables and using the CAP API. For full user data, see. This method called finalizer outcome when the garbage collector detects that the corresponding table or user data is dead. Finalizers allow you to coordinate US garbage collection with external resources management such as closing files,
network or database connections, or freeing your own memory. Okay, that's pretty nice. For an object table user data to be finalized when collected, you must make it for finalization. Right. For an object table or user data to be finalized when collected, you must mark it for finalization. You mark an object for finalization when you set its metatable and the metatable and the metatable has a using meta method. Let's repeat that. For an object, table, or user data to finalize when collected, you must mark it for finalization. For an object, table, or user data to finalize when collected, you must mark it for finalization. Okay, you must tell it specifically that it has finalized. You mark an object for finalization when you set its metatable and metatable and metatable. Wait, what? When you set its metatable and the metatable has a GC meta method. Okay. Note that if you set a metatable without a GC, a field and letter create the field in the metatable. The object will not be marked for finalization. That makes sense. When marked objects become dead, it is not collected immediately by the garbage collector. Instead, Lua puts it in a list. After the collection, Lua goes through the list. For each object in the list, it checks the object using meta method. If it is pressed, Lua goes in with the object as its single argument. Okay, so objects get marked as dead and they are added to dead objects. Then, when the garbage collector finishes, it checks the list and checks if those objects have the GC method. If it is present, Lua calls in with the object as its single argument. So that it basically marks it and it being completely not. And then it clears it. At the end of each garbage collector cycle, the finalizers are called in the reverse order that the objects were marked for finalization. Among those collected in the cycle, that is, the first finalizer to be called is the one associated with the object marked last in the program. The execution of each finalizer may occur at any point during the execution of the regular code. Because the object being collected must still be used by the finalizer, the object and other objects accessible only through it must be resurrected via Lua. Because objects being collected must still be used by the finalizer, the object and other objects accessible only through it must be resurrected by Lua. Okay, since the finalizer needs those objects, then they are resurrected so that it can do the right operations. And that's basically it. Usually, this resurrection is transient, and the object memory is free in the next garbage collection cycle. However, if the finalizer stores the object in some global place, example a global variable, the resurrection is permanent. Moreover, if the finalizer marks a finalizing object for finalization again, its finalizer will be called again in the next cycle where the object is dead. In any case, the object memory is free only in the GC cycle, where the object is dead and no mark for finalization. Okay, so if an object is marked as finalization, it will be used again when the next finalization goes in. But if it's not marked, then the memory will be free. When you close a state, set Lua.close lock on the finalizer of all objects marked for finalization, following the reverse order that they were marked. If any finalizer marked objects for collection during that phase, these marks have no effect. If any finalizer marks objects for collection during that phase, these marks have no effect. Okay. Finalizers cannot yield nor run the garbage collector because they can run in unpredictable times. It is good practice to restrain each finalizer to the minimum necessary to properly release its associated resources. Any error while running a finalizer generates a warning. The error is not propagated. Okay, all of this shit we will actually not care about it because we will not be touching too much the garbage collector or not be touching it at all. Okay, well, I mean, we didn't read that much, but we read a bit. I might continue reading off camera, I will see. So that next stream I can try to code a bit on this. But it certainly is a pretty heavy wiki. I will probably continue reading it on camera, but for now I will be sending you probably with Wasi, because Razor Crab has already finished, so I will be sending you with Wasiland, which he is obviously playing some more Night Ring, which does look pretty interesting. People do seem to like it, so yeah, you go and give some love to Wasi for me, guys. Let me switch my domain. Wrong thing. There we go. That's perfect. Now let me do a quick array. Wasi coming with. Alright, anyways, go and give some love to the slot. He's a really good streamer, and he's really fun to hang out with in general. So, you'll have a good one, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.